So right now, Pat, we've got the Democrats. Obviously, they're in the position to make huge gains in the midterms, huge gains in the 2028 election. Everything is going perfect for the Democrats. There's not a single article out there that says that, oh, they don't know what they're doing. You don't have thousands of voters out there saying, Democrats, get off your asses and do something right. No, things are going from bad to worse for the Democratic Party right now because, again, we do have the Democratic senators are reporting thousands of phone calls per week of people mad they're not doing enough. And now a new report has come out that says, guess what? Not only are you not doing enough, your money has dried up. Trump has raised $500 million this year. Yeah. And the Democrats are seeing a mass exodus of their donors, including the small dollar donors. That doesn't bode well for anything in the future with this party.
Yeah, they're like a deer in headlights right now.
Yeah.
Okay. They've got Carville is out. He's their new talking head, right? He's the guy they're putting out front again.
Old is new again.
Old is new again. He's the guy that Harris is going to win by a landslide. You remember that? Harris is going to be a sweep. Republicans are going to be embarrassed. The other thing is, there's nothing wrong with Biden. He's just fine. He's healthy. Carville, right? Carville now, it's going to be over for Trump in 30 days.
Yeah.
Everything's going to fall apart.
I'm keeping track.
I started counting too.
I would love it, but it ain't going to happen.
But here's the heart of what I'm saying here. You got a system that can't let go. It's like somebody that has this infatuation with a person, and you can't let that person go. She's somebody I've always loved. Ever since I was a teenager. You can't let it go. That's how they are. They're like that with Carville, Begala. They're like that with Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Schumer, Pelosi. They can't let go, and they don't understand in their inability to let go. It's pulling them down to the bottom of the river. They just keep going with the same old. And the demographics. They know what the demographic change is, and they seem to ignore it. What do you think?
Yeah, and look, to add on to that, too, about the party that's not going to let go, this is the same group who, when you take these straw polls, the number one choice for the next person to run for president, and has been for several years, is always Michelle Obama. Yes. A person who has expressed no interest in ever running for...
I don't want to run.
Right, and they're like, no, but we need you. We need to hold on to those glory years that we had in the first 4 years of the Obama administration. But they're refusing to move forward, and that is what the donors are saying. I have to read this quote from one donor because it's so amazing. I'll be blunt here. The Democratic Party is fucking terrible, plain and simple. In fact, it doesn't get much worse. They want us to spend money, and for what? For no message, no organization, no forward thinking.
Yeah. Okay, let me give you my...
And that's a longtime big dollar Democratic donor.
Oh, absolutely. All of these folks leave, and it's the small donors too. They're saying,
yeah,
it's like I don't know who it was the other day. Was it might have been Bill Maher? Yeah, guys, you want to make trans your big issue where you're going to trans a child without parents' permission? Is that one of your big talking points? If you do that, you're going to keep losing. Okay, whether that's true or not is irrelevant to me. But what is true is their inability to listen to critics. The criticism of you're an arrogant, elitist, know-it-all bunch of Washington blue bloods who have no connection to the American public. I love when you do your program and you talk about the fact, when we talk on this show, you talk about, look, they ain't ever left Washington, D.C. They've never eaten at a cafe in Alabama or Mississippi or Georgia. All they do is scratch their head and say, by God, these people are stupid. What's wrong with them? They're stupid. They're uneducated. They don't have the same Harvard, Yale education I've got. You can't run a political party with that kind of arrogant, elitist attitude. And that is the heart of the problem. If I were to distill everything I've read since they got trounced in the election, and I say, what's up? Arrogance, elitism, I'm better than you, I'm smarter than you, I have a better education, I have a better moral compass, I'm better in general. And you're in Alabama and Mississippi, dummy, right?
Right. I mean, when these lawmakers, they'll go to lunch in D.C. at Old Ebbitt's Grill, which, it's great food there.
Good food.
But they're sitting there, they're here at the table next to me. These people hate Trump. Well, the people over here hate Trump. Obviously, everybody hates Trump and I don't have to do anything additional because this is my old Ebbett bubble and everything is wonderful. I'm always right. And like you said, like we've talked about a million times, they don't come to places like where we are anymore. There was, I don't even remember a time when they did, but you know who does come here? All the Republicans. Junior was here just a week or so before the election.
Yes.
Trump came here multiple
Eating
times.
in the restaurants, going to cafes, talking to people over a cup of coffee.
And this was a time when, during this election cycle, we saw fewer Trump signs, fewer Republican signs in this area than ever before. Not that it may have been up for the taking, but there were inroads that could have been made in these areas with working class voters if the Democrats put the effort in. The only one who's doing it, as we've said a dozen times since Trump got inaugurated, is Bernie Sanders out there doing his Midwest tour, talking to people who can't vote for him, which is important. It's not just your state. It's not just your constituents. Go talk to people that can't benefit you in any way.
You know what makes me crazy? So many things, and I'm probably already there. But, you know, I say this all the time, and I don't mean this. This is a true compliment, because I really believe this. I believe you're the best progressive talker in the business. And as a progressive talker, you do what you're supposed to do. You're saying, look, Dems, I love being a progressive, but pay attention. I look at the other side of it. What's this Midas muffler? Or what is the Midas?
Midas touch. I do like that. I like them a lot.
Great. I'm glad you like them. But when I listen to it, all I hear is it's a propaganda for the Democratic Party. It's all the same talking points. You can read the headlines, and yeah, we agree with that New York Times headlines. I agree with the LA headlines. You can't change anything like that. All you can do is enforce this belief that people already have. They're already listening to you. You can enforce that, but you can't say, hey, wait a second, think about something else. That's the difference, I think. And I think it's a fundamental difference.
And I do. Look, I really like what the Midas Touch folks do. They're great guys. They've built an enormous organization. They actually just surpassed Joe Rogan as the #1 podcast in the country. I'll tell you what I don't like.
But who's listening to him?
Well,
it's the same group of folks listening to him, listen to that all the time, and all they're doing is being reinforced what they already believe.
Well, I'll tell you actually along those lines, I think just from what I see, I'm not going to say it's the Midas Touch folks, but what I see is I see a lot of people on social media, and you know, for years now, and they are the Democrats can do no wrong, Republicans can do no right, and obviously we're so much better and smarter, kind of like you're saying. And it's these people that are so really delusional, making these big, bold predictions that Texas is turning blue, Ted Cruz is going to lose his seat. Florida. I've had people actually do videos when I mentioned that, hey, Florida is a red state. Stop trying to pretend that it's not and then deal with the problem. I've had people actually take my videos and do counter videos showing that, well, if you look at all this, if these things hadn't happened, they say, it'd have been blue.
It's suspension.
It's like, yeah, if it didn't go the way it went, it would be different. Shocking.
It's childlike suspension of disbelief.
Yes.
It's like a 6-year-old. That's what a 6-year-old does. I'm going to hide my eyes and the monster's going to go away. I'm going to get in the closet and hide myself and the monster's going to go away. It is suspension of disbelief.
You have to acknowledge that the party has problems, because they do. Acknowledge what the solutions to those problems are, and then force these people to do those things just like what Bernie Sanders is doing. And I feel like there are a lot of people on the left, most of them on social media, that refuse to acknowledge any of that, and that's what's holding it back.
So Trump gives his State of the Union address, and the Democrats have just completely lost their mind. But the thing they're focused on is Doge. I mean, you know, Doge this, Doge that. And the problem they have is after that address, now, and I don't know, the last few days maybe it's changed, but after the address, 77% of the American public agree with what is being done with Doge. They feel like maybe we can save some taxpayer money. So it's a tough thing to overcome, and to say when Musk gets up there and says, hey, we saved y'all $20 billion today. And you know that thing about you might get a $5,000 check, you know it's still hanging out there? People are still thinking about that. If we can save enough money, you may get $5,000. What's your take on it?
Well, sure. I mean, who doesn't like free money, right? And efficiency. I think the problem is there's a huge gap between what is being represented to the people and what's actually happening. Okay. And recently in court filings for the USADF case, which is about the Africa Foundation that the U.S. runs, as well as for the Social Security Administration, we started to see memorandums come out from different individuals citing what has happened when DOGE actually goes in to these buildings. Mm-hmm. And the problem is they don't seem to be really caring about what are the problems, what are the experts saying who've been doing it for years. They kind of come in with a preconceived idea of what the issue is, with an idea of how it needs to be fixed, and with the ultimate goal of what they've told both people in the SSA as well as the USDAF, or USADF, excuse me, is that they want to basically just tear it down to its bare minimum that is constitutionally mandated. Mm-hmm. And so when you have something like that, that's not about efficiency, that's not about better running, that's not about...
Can they do that without Congress?
Well, so that's a real question. So Congress is one that is allowed to create organizations for the executive, but ultimately the executive power lies in the president himself. So it's this big tug of war that whether they can or can't, normally you can't just tell Congress the laws they pass are illegal, right? That's the duty of the judges in the Supreme Court. So they can certainly keep the board members, and they'd have to by law really, but as to those individuals that are underneath the executive board members, that's where it becomes a little bit more dicey.
Isn't it kind of a problem? The last two Supreme Court cases that came out saying, look, we're not a government where bureaucracy makes decision about policy. You can execute on policy, you can follow policy, but you can't create policy. Two decisions, very powerful decisions just in the last couple of years. So I think DOGE has that going for them. And they're able to go in there and say, look, this is, we're making executive decisions. We're going to cut this. Grover Norquist says we're going to make this so small we can drown it in the bathtub. Okay, that's what's happened, for example, with USAID. Now you got Rubio who says cut them into Nothingsville, and whatever's left you put over in my department and I'll manage. So it's not like they don't have an argument saying we're not doing this anymore. Here's what strikes me about it, okay? It's too complicated. It's too complicated for the average American to say, yeah, I see the connection. If you cut this, causal effect is going to be A, causal effect B. It's a lot to analyze. What is powerful, and this is what Trump did in his State of the Union, is go through this list. And the list is ridiculous. You go, really? We need to study the habits of transgender mice to understand transgender, or we need to make a comic book for some other country that talks about transitioning. So I mean, if you listen to that list, it is red meat, right? The American public responds to red meat. They're not going to overanalyze this. After that speech, here were the numbers. 76% of the Americans approved of the speech. Now this is from The Hill. These are The Hill's numbers, not mine. 77 agreed with the border policy. 77% agreed with the government cuts. And so if you look at it, the Democrats have got to do something as visceral. They've got to say, let me show you what happened with this cut, right? Is that kind of what you're saying here?
Yeah, well, I'll push back a little bit. If I remember those stats correctly, it was 77% of people that watch the State of the Union address.
Right.
That's like saying 77% of people that go to the Superdome are New Orleans Saints fans,
okay,
right? So I think a lot of the people that were prone to watch State of the Union are going to agree with Trump and what he says and with DOGE. To me, the issue is, and the worry is, that it's like going in and chopping down without having a plan afterwards, especially when these funds were allocated last year and have been continually allocated in some situations for over 10, 20 years by a Congress that is voted in by the people. And so it is these democratically elected individuals that are saying money should go to Africa for these reasons, or money should go to South America or Social Security for these reasons. So while he did win the popular vote, it wasn't by a huge margin when you look at the history of presidential margins. And so in that case, you're saying, well, how do you get a mandate there when you aren't allowing for the mandate that Congress has had over the past 20 years and today?
Congress has a 21% approval rate. 21%,
Sure.
okay? The mandate to me was that he moved entire demographics. He moved Latino demographic. Really? He moved the African American demographic. Really? He moved the young voter demographic. That's what, when I hear mandate, that's what I hear. But the point on this is you're never going to be able to micromanage these facts to where the American public says, oh, wow, yeah, I see Doge is really doing wrong. What they're going to be looking at, how much did you save? How ridiculous were the plans that you cut? And do I benefit? It's a reptilian kind of way of thinking. There's a whole bunch of books that have been written on the reptilian mind, okay? We use them in trial all the time. I mean, we use these concepts in trial, the reptilian mind. And it's no different in the courtroom than it is in the American public. So I think they've got a little more time. Doge has a little more time, but not a lot. And when they start, even with if you look at what they did with the Department of Education, people are going, well, hell yeah. You know, the average person out there saying, I don't want my children learning this stuff, or it's become just an element of bureaucracy. I think they've got maybe another month or two where they can continue this kind of cutting before the American public starts saying, let me take a closer look.
I think we're already there. You know, I think in the fact that they've had to go back and redo the numbers, showing that they were accidentally, I don't want to say accidentally, that they were inflated, that they showed 8 billion when it should have been 8 million, that a lot of these contracts were contracts that were already either taken away or already paid, and so they wouldn't even count as money saved. You know, all those are instances of them just not doing a good job. And just because you're going in and cutting doesn't mean that you're being good at it or efficient at it. And they don't really have the safe rails or the safeguards to make sure that whatever they cut won't be able to be fixed afterwards.
Keep telling the story, brother, okay? Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.